All right, think about this for a second. You use the internet constantly, right? I mean, for everything. But have you ever, really stopped to think about how it all works?
So when you tap on a link or you shoot off a message, what's actually going on in that tiny fraction of a second? It feels like magic, doesn't it? But it's not. And spoiler alert, it's not a bunch of satellites zapping things down from the sky. It's this amazing, invisible system that works at speeds that are just hard to even wrap your head around. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack right now.
Okay, so let's zoom out and start with the big picture. Because believe it or not, at its heart, the internet is built on an idea that's actually really simple.
I mean, that's pretty much it. Seriously, forget all the complicated jargon you hear. Forget about the cloud for just a minute. All the internet really is a giant global system that just lets computers talk to each other. That's it. Whether it's your phone, your laptop, or some massive server halfway around the world, they're all just having a conversation.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Unlike, your phone company or the power company, there's no Internet Inc. There's no CEO. No single company owns the whole thing. It's what we call decentralized, a network made up of thousands of other networks. And just like nobody owns it, there's no single place that controls it either. There's no headquarters in some building somewhere. It's everywhere and nowhere all at once. And that distributed design, that's one of the most powerful things about it. So when you boil it all down, its one job is to do one thing: move data from point A to point B. Super, super fast. That's its purpose, to get information from your screen to another computer, whether it's in the same room or on the other side of the planet, and to do it in the blink of an eye.
All right, you with me so far? Good, because now we're going to get into the really cool part. We're going to follow a single click. We're going to trace its journey from the second you tap your screen, see where it goes, and how it gets back to you.
Okay, so the very first step in this journey is basically a translation. See, your computer has no idea what Google.com means. It speaks in numbers, specifically IP addresses, so it needs a translator. That's where something called the DNS, or Domain Name System, comes in. Think of it like the internet's giant phone book. It looks up the name you typed and finds the right number for your computer to connect to.
Now here's a mind bender. Your request to see that web page doesn't travel in one big piece. Instead, it gets chopped up into hundreds or even thousands of tiny little pieces called packets. It's a brilliant system for efficiency. The best way to think about it is like sending a really long message as a bunch of individual postcards. Each little postcard knows where it's going and where it came from.
So how do all these little digital postcards find their way? Well, they're guided by routers. Routers are basically the traffic directors of the internet. They sit at all the major intersections of the network, and as each packet arrives, the router takes a quick look and says, okay, the fastest way for you to go right now is that way. And if one path is jammed with traffic, no problem. The router just sends the packet down a different road.
And the craziest part? This whole sequence happens in literal milliseconds. Your computer looks up the address in the DNS phone book, it chops your request into packets, routers guide those packets across the globe to a server, which is really just another computer, and that server sends a whole bunch of packets back. Your device then catches all of them and reassembles them into the web page you wanted to see. All of that happens in less time than it takes you to blink. It's just wild.
But this whole packet switching thing, it's not just for websites. Not at all. This is the engine that powers pretty much everything you do online.
I mean, really think about it. You send a text message, that's a few packets. You're watching a YouTube video, that's a constant stream of thousands of packets all arriving in the right order to give you a smooth video. You're using Google Maps, your phone is in a constant back and forth sending packets with your location and getting packets back with traffic info. It's all the same magic, just used for different things.
Which leads to this really cool shift in perspective. You're not just on the internet. You're not a passive observer. Your devices are in a constant, high-speed conversation with it. Every single minute, they're sending and receiving millions of these tiny packets.
All right, let's switch gears and bust a huge myth, probably the biggest one there is about the internet. This idea that it's all wireless, just kind of floating around up in the clouds.
So yeah, the myth is that it's all Wi-Fi and satellites, but the reality? The reality is way more physical. The truth is, the overwhelming majority of internet data, we're talking like 99%, travels as literal beams of light through massive fiber optic cables. These are real physical cables buried under our streets and stretched for thousands of miles across the bottom of the ocean.
So the big takeaway here is that the internet isn't some abstract idea. It's a thing. It's one of the largest and most complicated physical structures that human beings have ever built. It's a real, tangible masterpiece of global engineering.
So, why do we care? Why does any of this techie stuff matter to you?
Well, because this invisible network, this physical thing, it's become the foundation for pretty much everything in our modern world.
Because when you get how it works, other things suddenly make sense. You understand why just a tiny bit of delay, what gamers call lag, can ruin an online match. You get why privacy is such a hard problem to solve because your data has to pass through so many different hands, and you can see how just one ship's anchor in the wrong place could cut a cable and knock an entire country's internet out.
And think about it. More and more of our lives are moving onto this network. Our jobs, our money, school, even healthcare. So making sure this network is stable and secure isn't just a tech issue anymore. It's essential for society to even function.
Look, at the end of the day, understanding this stuff isn't just for tech nerds. It's becoming a basic responsibility for everyone. Because the better we all understand how this amazing system works, the better we can be at protecting it and making sure we're all using it wisely.
And that brings us to one last really big question. If the internet is just a bunch of computers talking to each other, just sending these little digital postcards back and forth,
How on earth do they keep that conversation private, right? How is your bank password or a personal message kept secret when it's traveling through all those different routers and all those public cables?
yeah, what stops a hacker from just grabbing those little postcards and reading your mail? Well, that is a whole other layer of genius, and it's a story for next time.